Tony Dow's last years were very sad because he was not in the center like he used to be as the beloved big brother on Leave It to Beaver. Wally Cleaver was not as good-hearted as he seemed. His life ended tragically, leaving behind questions, sadness, and an empty house stuck in time. What became of the family he loved? So what did he really leave behind? Fans never thought the story would be so scary. Don't worry, just listen. Tony Dow is best known for his long career as Wally Cleaver on the popular show Leave It to Beaver in the 1950s. He started out as a child actor and went on to become an artist and TV producer with many talents. From April 13, 1945, until his sad death in 2022, he lived a full life. After being told in May 2022 that he had liver cancer, Dow fought bravely, but on July 27, 2022, he died. A lot of people got the wrong information about his death the day before, which added to the sadness and confusion surrounding the star's death. It was estimated that Dow was worth $4 million at the time of his death. This amount showed how successful and varied his career was in the entertainment business and in the art world. Dow became well known when he was cast as Leave It to Beaver's All-American teen son, Wally Cleaver, in 1957. The show, which ran until 1963, showed what life was like in the suburbs of the United States after World War II. Millions of people found Wally and Dow's performance to be relatable and charming, and the show itself became an important part of American television. An awful lot of people thought Wally Cleaver was the perfect big brother. He was smart, polite, and a calm voice of reason for his rowdy younger brother, Beaver. People really related to the Cleaver family on the show, with their values of honesty, respect, and good-natured humor. This made Leave It to Beaver a national touchstone and cemented Dow's place in TV history. The part Dow played as Wally Cleaver was so iconic that even though the show only ran for a short time, it made Dow a major figure in American pop culture. That being said, Dow did more than just act. Dow wanted to grow his job and get better at different parts of the entertainment business after Leave It to Beaver ended. He wanted to do more than just act, so he went after a job in directing and producing. During the 1980s and 1990s, Dow worked on a number of popular TV shows such as Babylon 5, Coach, and Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. He was able to use his behind-the-scenes skills on these shows, and his knowledge of both the creative and technical sides of making TV shows added another dimension to his work. In these roles, Dow became known as a versatile and skilled producer and director. He is respected in the TV business for telling stories that are both interesting and powerful. There were other things Dow was good at besides TV, though. He also became very interested in sculpture, especially making abstract bronze statues. He showed a different side of his creativity and artistic vision in his work as a sculptor that was just as unique as his movie work. A lot of people knew and liked Dow's statues, and they were shown all over the world. One of his most famous shows was at the Elite Soyette Nationale de Beaux-Arts in Paris, which showed how good he was at making pieces that made people think and were beautiful to look at. When Dow started making art, it not only gave him a new way to express himself, but it also added to his wealth because his sculptures became collectibles. Pay attention to Tony Dow's businesses now. The first thing that shaped Tony Dow's early life was his family, and the house where he grew up in the California town of Van Nuys. In his teens, Dow lived with his parents, John Dow Jr. and Muriel Montreux Dow, in a house that was an important part of his growth and development. People said that this family home had a rustic, laid-back vibe that matched the love and friendliness of the Dow family. They had lived in the house for more than 30 years, and it was a safe place for Tony's ideas and creativity to grow. The Van Nuys home that the Dow family lived in was not your average suburban house. It was an extension of the people who lived there and the things they liked. John Dow Jr., Tony's dad, was a builder and carpenter by trade, and you could tell how skilled he was by the way the house was built and how it looked. The house probably showed how skilled John was as a builder because it had traits that showed it. It was easy to live a simple, comfortable, and useful life in that house because it had a simple, comfortable, and useful environment. This casual, country style would have been different from the polished, glitzy world Tony would later find in Hollywood. It would have helped him stay humble and grounded, even though he would become famous. Tony's mother, Muriel Montreux Dow, used to be an actress, which added another artistic impact to the family. Being an actress, Muriel added a creative and performing edge to the family after working in Hollywood in the early stages of her career. By the time Tony was a teenager, she was no longer playing, but Tony's experience in the entertainment business probably influenced his decision to become an actor. Tony may have become interested in TV and acting early on because he grew up in a home that valued both imagination and craftsmanship. This may have led him to eventually begin directing and producing. The Dow family had lived in Van Nuys for a long time, which added to their sense of security and community. The Dows had strong ties to the area because they had lived in the house for over 30 years. Tony felt like he had a sense of continuity. Living in Van, New York for a long time, he would have seen the neighborhood as a safe place to be and a place to grow. Even though the family wasn't part of Hollywood's elite, they had a lot of connections in the entertainment business, especially through Muriel's acting job and John's connections in the building business. It's possible that Tony used the house as a safe haven from the stresses of Hollywood, giving him a balanced place to explore his interests and develop his skills. Tony's upbringing in this loving and caring home, where he could learn from his parents' wide range of experiences and backgrounds, had a huge impact on him. When he was young, he felt safe and free to focus on his goals without having to worry about the fame that would come later. The house was probably simple because the family took a laid-back approach to life, focusing on being kind, respectful, and helping each other grow. Tony Dow could be himself at home with his family, away from the polished and watched world of Hollywood. He was surrounded by people who loved him and supported his goals. Tony's home in Van Nuys established a strong base for his future success as he turned 13. Tony's mother was an actress, his father was handy, and the family had deep roots in the community. Together, they gave him a unique set of influences that would shape his work in show business. It's clear that the Tony Dow's family's home wasn't just a place to live. It was also a symbol of the ideals and environment that helped him grow up. Tony Dow and his mother, Muriel Montreux. Dow bought a big house in the late 1950s, when he was at the height of his fame from the TV show Leave It to Beaver. It would become a favorite family vacation spot. A summer home on the island of Catalina. Catalina Island, which is off the coast of Southern California, was famous for its natural beauty and peace. It was also a popular place for people to get away from the busy life on the mainland. The island home of the Dow family was more than just a place to get away. It turned into a safe place where they could enjoy nature's peace and quiet without being seen by anyone else. Tony bought the house on Catalina Island when he was at the height of his fame as Wally Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver. Tony became well known through the show, and millions of people loved how he played the good-hearted American teen son of June and Ward Cleaver. He had some financial success from his TV career, but the vacation home also meant something more personal. To him, it was where he and his family decided to spend time together when they weren't working in Hollywood. It's possible that the home on Catalina Island was very different from the busy and exciting life of a child star in Los Angeles. Instead of the fakeness of fame, the Dow family found comfort in the island's natural surroundings. The island's laid-back vibe helped them relax and unwind. Catalina's rough terrain, clear seas, and beautiful scenery made it a great place for families to spend time together and take a break from the spotlight. Being a TV star put a lot of pressure on Tony, but this was his getaway. He could just enjoy being a teenager and being with his mother, who loved and supported him. In later years, Dow would think of the vacation home as the last thing he had left of the money he made from his part on Leave It to Beaver. This comment was a powerful reminder of how short his early wealth and fame were. He bought a house on Catalina Island with the money he made from playing Wally Cleaver. It was a permanent reminder of how successful he had been at such a young age. But it was also a warning that the days when he was a huge star as a child were over. Over time, Tony's career changed as he got older. The vacation home on Catalina Island became a reminder of a time in his life when everything seemed possible, and his part on Leave It to Beaver was the pinnacle of his fame. The Catalina house was important for more reasons than just being a sign of Tony's wealth. It also had a big impact on how the family worked together. The mother of Tony, Muriel, used to be an actor but became more private after Tony was born. Even though she isn't in the spotlight as much now, her time in Hollywood and her love of the entertainment business definitely affected Tony's work. The island home wasn't just an investment in real estate. It was also an investment in time with family, away from the cameras, the press, and the stress of the business. Tony and Muriel could get back in touch with each other there and enjoy simple joys without the stress of fame and money. At the end of the 1980s, Tony Dow, an actor who later became a director and artist, and his wife, Lauren Schuland, made the big move from Hollywood to Topanga Canyon, an area known for being a peaceful place for artists. This choice showed a need for privacy and a love for making things. Topanga Canyon is in the Santa Monica Mountains, not far from Los Angeles. It has long been known for having a community of artists. A lot of artists, singers, and writers had come to the area because of its beautiful scenery, creative atmosphere, and friendly, free-spirited vibe. Tony and Lauren found that living in Topanga Canyon was both a peaceful place to relax and a place that pushed them to be creative. The wooded areas and twisting roads of Topanga Canyon were very different from the bright lights and stars of Hollywood. The canyon's quiet and remote location made it perfect for Tony and Lauren to work on their own creative projects while spending time with other creatively minded people. That's because this place fit their goals for life much better. Tony is far away from the stresses of his old job as a TV star, but he is still close enough to Los Angeles to be able to stay in touch with the entertainment world when he needs to. Their home in Topanga Canyon showed how they wanted to live their life. The home wasn't just a place for them to live. It also showed who they were as people and their artistic tastes. One of the best things about the house was that it had a separate room where Tony Dow could work on his sculptures. Since this point in his life, Dow had stopped acting and started making art instead, mostly abstract bronze statues. In his workshop, he could make his ideas come to life by trying out different shapes and designs and turning his artistic urges into real art. Dow could engage himself in the process of making things in the workshop, which was a holy place. Far from the prying eyes of other people, Lauren also had a way to be artistic. She was a skilled artist in her own right, and the couple's home and surroundings were filled with beautiful tiles that she made. Along with the natural beauty of Topanga Canyon, mosaics, with their complicated patterns and bright colors, looked stunning. There was probably a sense of peace and earthiness in Lauren's work that came from living in that area. Her tiles connected the natural world to her art. Their home was not only a safe place for them to be creative, but there was art in every room because the couple was both very creative. The property itself was beautiful, from the inside walls of the house to the yard outside. With its picket fence around the yard, the house had an air of charm and timelessness. The garden was its own haven, with lots of lush plants, bright flowers, and well-thought-out landscaping that showed how much the pair loved nature and beauty. There were winding wooden stairs in the yard that led people around and gave them a sense of discovery. The stairs may have been useful, but they also gave the property a rustic, natural look and connected the house to the land in a way that felt natural and purposeful. One of the most amazing things about their home in Topanga Canyon was the deck that had gorgeous views of the canyon and mountains nearby. On the deck, Tony and Lauren could take a break, sit back, and enjoy the beauty of their surroundings. The deck was a great place for the couple to enjoy the nature world they had chosen to live in, whether it was a quiet morning with a cup of coffee or a peaceful evening watching the sun go down. The views of the beautiful scenery always reminded them of how peaceful and quiet Topanga Canyon was, and they were able to connect with both each other and the nature around them. Tony and Lauren felt like they were part of a group of artists who lived in Topanga Canyon. Many of these artists had found comfort in the canyon's quiet beauty. Because Topanga Canyon is known as an artistic haven, the couple was surrounded by people who shared their love of art and desire for a quiet, introspective life. Topanga's creative community was known for working together, which is likely what gave Tony and Lauren the chance to meet other artists, share their ideas, and get ideas from the work of those around them. Over the course of his life, Tony Dow found peace and inspiration in a simple Los Angeles home he shared with his wife, Lauren Schulkind. After decades of living in the fast-paced world of TV and entertainment, the couple wanted a more private and calm life, where they could focus on their own interests and enjoy the simple things in life at home. Their Los Angeles home was not very big, but it had a lot of personality, which showed Tony's artistic journey and his long-lasting link to the entertainment world. The simple charm of the house was very different from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, where Tony used to work as a young actress. The simple home was very different from the lavish lifestyle of the celebrities, but Tony and Lauren were able to live a life that was grounded and focused on their talents because their life was so simple. It was a place where they could relax and enjoy the arts, which had become important to them as they got older. The workshop was one of the most interesting parts of their house. It was a safe place for Tony to work as an artist. Tony had a strong interest in abstract sculpture, especially metal sculpture, throughout his career, and his workshop showed how he saw art. The room was full of his finished statues, unfinished works, and tools that showed how he was always exploring shape and material. The workshop was more than just a place to work. In a way, it showed Tony's own growth as an artist. This is where he could really get into the creative process and use his hands to make his thoughts come to life. The workshop not only had Tony's sculptures, but it also had things from his earlier job as an actor, especially his famous role as Wally Cleaver on the hit TV show Leave It to Beaver. Tony had collected mementos from the show over the years, like photos, scripts, and even costumes, to remember himself of how successful he had been at such a young age. Having these things in the workshop showed the change from his early fame to his later artistic pursuits, showing how varied his life and career were. Putting his old acting memorabilia next to his new art showed how Tony had changed over the years, going from being a child star to a recognized artist and creator in his own right. The house was warm and cozy, and Tony and Lauren could enjoy a peaceful life together there, near beautiful things that would inspire them. Outside, the house had a well-kept garden that added to the peaceful feel of the home. A big part of the yard was succulents, which are known for being low maintenance and looking great. The warm weather in Los Angeles was perfect for these hardy plants, which added pops of color and texture to the outdoor area. They could go to the garden and rest and enjoy the simple pleasures of being in nature, without any noise or stress. There was also a stone seating area in the garden, which was great for relaxing on warm nights or quiet mornings. The stone seating area, which might have reminded Tony of the outdoors he had liked in the past, was a peaceful place to think or spend time with family and friends. The sitting area became a place for quiet reflection and connection, whether people were watching the sunset or just sitting in peace. This garden's calm atmosphere matched the way Tony and Lauren had built their life in their later years, one based on peace, creativity, and a deep appreciation for the beauty in everyday things. The deck with a view of the neighborhood added to the beauty of the house. There were wide views of Los Angeles from this deck, so the couple could enjoy the natural beauty all around them. The deck was a great spot to enjoy the world around them, whether it was the bright colors of the setting sun or the peace and quiet of early morning. On top of that, the deck was a great place to hang out with friends or just spend time with your partner. The deck was more than just a place for Tony and Lauren. It was a peaceful and useful spot, a place where they could enjoy the little things in life and show their love for art and nature. In addition, Tony Dow's personal life had times of happiness and times of hardship, just like his work life. In June 1969, he married Carol Marlowe for the first time. This was a big event in his life, away from the press. Carol Marlowe, a woman who wasn't in the entertainment business, probably gave Tony a sense of security during this time. They were married for more than 10 years before they split up in 1980. A choice that was made after many years of changes in my life and work. Even though they were no longer married, they did have one child together. Their son was born in 1973 and became an important part of Tony's life as he dealt with the ups and downs of being a dad. Even though they were no longer married in 1980, Tony Dow stayed a devoted father who was determined to give his son a good life. On the other hand, the end of his first marriage was the start of a new relationship. In the fall of that same year, Tony married artist Lauren Schulkind, with whom he had become very close. Tony's life would change when he married Lauren. She gave him a sense of emotional and artistic stability that would help him through some of the tough times that were to come. Tony became more self-aware and thought about himself a lot in the 1990s, when he told everyone that he had been dealing with severe depression for a long time. Tony looked inside himself a lot during this time in his life, as he tried to figure out what was wrong with his mental health. Making the brave and vulnerable choice to talk freely about his depression, he shared his struggles with people who had only known him as Wally, the good guy. In 1998, Dow starred in a self-help video called Beating the Blues, which told the story of his own fight with depression and showed how he was dealing with it. The movie was meant to give people with mental health problems hope and advice. It also gave Tony a chance to talk about his own problems and help people who might be having the same ones. It was a real and open look at how mental illness changes a person's life. And Tony's decision to tell his story changed the way mental health was talked about in public in a big way. Being depressed wasn't something Tony could get over quickly, and it became a big part of his path to healing and accepting himself. Tony wanted to make talking about mental health more common by sharing his story and Beating the Blues. He wanted to encourage others to get help and understand how important mental health is. He wasn't just letting off steam by talking about his illness. It was also a call for more kindness and understanding for people who are going through similar things. It was a lesson that everyone, even those who seem to have everything, could be hiding problems, and it was okay to ask for help and get better. Tony continued to deal with the ups and downs of life as the years went by. Since they got married in 1980, his marriage to Lauren Schulkind has been a stable part of his life. The couple became very close and helped each other through both personal and work problems. Lauren, who is also an artist, shared Tony's love of making things. Their shared interests in art and nature brought them peace and happiness. Many years of living together in Topanga Canyon showed how strong their relationship was, and how much they cared about living a life that was true to their values. In 2021, Tony Dow's health took another hit when he was hospitalized with pneumonia. This showed how hard it can be to get older, and how fragile health can be. Being in the hospital was a hard time for Tony, but it also showed how strong he is when things go wrong. Tony was a figure of power and grace even though he had problems with depression, pneumonia, and the normal problems that come with getting older. He kept focusing on his health, his family, and his work. He also continued to be a strong supporter of mental health awareness, using his fame to talk openly about what it's like to live with sadness. Are you interested in Tony Dow's childhood? His life started in Hollywood, California, a neighborhood in the middle of Los Angeles that is always changing and being lived in. Todd Mantros and John Stevens Dow had a son named Tony on April 13, 1945. His mother, Muriel, was a stunt woman who worked on many westerns in Hollywood's golden age, and his father, John, was a designer and contractor. It's possible that Tony's parents taught him to value quality work and design. Tony grew up in a family that was both creative and hardworking. He was exposed to a unique mix of show business and construction, which would later affect his job, and art. It was notable that Muriel worked as a stuntwoman in westerns, especially since women in the movie business didn't often get to play physically demanding parts back then. Because she worked in the entertainment business, Tony probably saw how movies and TV shows were made behind the scenes, which shaped his early idea of how the entertainment business worked. Tony would go on to become a movie star, but his mother's work in the business may have helped him understand how the stories and characters that captivated viewers were made. Tony may have also learned the value of hard work and persistence from seeing how strong and resilient she was. These are traits that would help him in his own job. Tony's dad, John Stevens Dow, was a designer and builder, and it's likely that Tony's early life was shaped by his work in building as well. As a child, Tony was constantly exposed to the planning process and the building of buildings, which is likely what made him want to start making things himself. Actually, Tony would become very interested in sculpture later on, especially working with bronze, which shows that he learned a lot about planning and building when he was young. The useful and active nature of his dad's job may have helped Tony understand how important it is to make something real and long-lasting. In his early years in Hollywood, Tony was creative, active, and very disciplined. While both of his parents worked in different areas of entertainment, Tony's own hobbies began to form when he was young. He was very busy and fell in love with sports, especially swimming and diving. Tony started swimming lessons when he was young, and his speed became one of the things that made him stand out as a kid. He worked hard at sports and training, and that dedication helped him win the Junior Olympics diving title, an amazing feat that showed how hard he worked and how skilled he was. As a diver, Tony really showed how good he was at the Junior Olympics, which are the best competitions for young athletes. To compete at such a high level, you needed to be mentally focused and determined as well as physically strong. As an adult, Tony would use these qualities to help him in his acting job and in his art. His success in the Junior Olympics showed that he could do well in a tough and competitive setting. It was also a learning experience that made him a better person and worker. While Tony's love of sports was a big part of his childhood, it was clear that he would eventually become interested in show business. Tony was always just a short walk away from the glitz and thrills of Hollywood. In the end, the call of the camera overwhelmed his time in the pool and on the diving board, but they still had an unexpected effect on his later career. As a young athlete, he learned dedication, focus, and athleticism that helped him in his career as an actor. He went on to play Wally Cleaver on the famous TV show Leave It to Beaver. Tony maybe had a better sense of his body and poise because he was a diver. This may have affected how he acted on screen, whether he was in a funny or serious part. Tony's early years in Hollywood were shaped by his family, his success in sports, and his close ties to the film business. Because his mother was a stuntwoman and his father worked in building, he learned to value hard work and quality craftsmanship. On the other hand, his success as a swimmer and diver taught him how important it is to be disciplined and focused. He would later become famous as Wally Cleaver, a part that made him a beloved figure in American television history. These formative years set the stage for Tony's future success in show business. While Tony's early sports career was an important part of his youth, it was clear that his natural charm and love of the arts would eventually lead him to acting. The way Tony Dow was built, the creative way he was raised, and the fact that he was exposed to the entertainment business from a young age all made his work unique. Being able to move between the real world and the world of art would help him do well as an actor, director, and artist in the years to come. How do you feel about Tony Dow? Please tell us what you think in the box below. We hope this video was helpful for you. Kindly click like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Glad you watched and see you in the next film. Thank you.